Hi guys, good morning. Mark Dawes here, and my question for you this morning is maths or no maths? And what I mean by that is, when you're teaching physical skills, should you be using maths or not? Now, before I answer that question, I want to read you an email that came in which prompted this video. So let me just fire up the computer and put this on for you. This email came in on the 25th of May at 10 to 12 in the morning. Good morning, Mark. It has now come to pass that we aren't going to court over the lady with the sore knee. It has been settled by the board. An interesting thing came up that did cause me concern, and if you wish to use it as a warning to others, you have my full blessing. Both your good self and Mark Williams have related tales in the past about risk assessment and ending up in court. Now, I came back from two courses, one of yours and one of Mark's, and tried to get my managers to fund me for a certified risk assessor course. Both times, two different managers refused. Reason given, you know how to do a risk assessment. Whilst meeting with a senior NHS lawyer a couple of weeks ago, I was asked about my risk assessment for the dynamic scenario training at the end of day 2. And you probably already know that her first question was, have you had formal training? When I said I had only received internal hospital training in the 90s, I could tell she wasn't impressed. She said it wasn't insurmountable, but it would be something the other advocate would go after. Anyhow, that is you sort of up to speed. Thank you for your support and reassurance when it looked like I was going to court. Take care, my friend, and I genuinely hope our paths cross in the real world again at some point. You are truly one of the good guys. All the best, name withheld. Now, the crux to this whole case is the aspect of risk assessment. That's what it's hinging on. Now, I can tell you now that the board settled this out of court. I don't know what the undisclosed amount was, but it will have been in the tens of thousands of pounds because she was going after quite a large sum. Now, if you've been following our blog post, you'll also be aware of this post here, which is the one I put out on May the 22nd, I believe it was. Yep, May the 22nd, and it says, is a general blanket handcuffing policy a breach of an individual's human rights? With regard to these cases, the ones that are going to the European Court, the issue is all about whether or not a risk assessment was done, because if you don't do a risk assessment, then you have a generalised policy, and a generalised policy means you have a restrictive intervention, and what that means is you could be acting in an unnecessary or disproportionate way because you're not looking at the individual risk of each individual person in question. Now, come back to the issue of maths. If you're going to use maths, then you have to risk assess the training area, you have to risk assess the maths, you've also got to have all the procedures in place as to whether or not the mats what you can do when the mats get dirty, if they get stained, if they get damaged. But also, interestingly, and I'm not sure how far this will go, if you've got 10 different people or 20 different people on those mats wearing 20 or 10 different pairs of training shoes, do you have to go so far as to assessing the suitability of each different type of training shoe on different types of mats? Because some will stick and some will not. For example, you might have someone wearing a particular type of training shoe that's got a very sticky suction type sole, and that will stick more than other types of training shoes. But I think you're getting my gist on this. But the bottom line is this. If you have a risk assessment in place, then you're on good ground. But the question that will then be asked is the person who did the risk assessment competent and qualified to do so? Because all too often, time and time again, I come across people who tell me they've been tasked with doing a risk assessment, but they've been given no training. And the presumption of this by the employer is, well, you've been in the job long enough, you must know what to do. Or, you should know how to do a risk assessment, just get on with it. The Health and Safety at Work Act requires that you are trained and competent for any activity that you're expected to do. Now, we'll be talking more about this on our conference on the 30th of June, and you're welcome to come along. In fact, if you're not coming along, why not? You're going to get loads of information that's going to keep you safe and could save you tens of thousands of pounds, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds, for the cost of a ticket to a conference where you're going to have 6 very eminent speakers who are all at the top of their game giving you information. Oh, one other thing. Someone asked me this. They said, if we haven't trained with you before and we don't know you, can we still come to your conference? Of course you can. It's a conference. Everyone's welcome. No problem there whatsoever. So even if you've never trained with us or you've never met us and you'd like to come along, then you're more than welcome. And there's a link somewhere below this video where you can book your place. But places are filling up very quickly. 30th of June is soon approaching. And if you want a place, I would honestly, seriously book it right now. Don't hesitate. The minute you finish watching this video, book your place because it's going to fill up. and there'll be no places left very shortly. Anyway, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.